What's up YouTube, my name's Ravlar and welcome back to another video. So today we have the second episode of my best in slot hunter on my Ironman. But before we get into it, a few small changes which I want to mention. Now I'm thinking of changing the series name to Best in Slot Addict, because as a lot of you rightly pointed out, Best in Slot Hunter sounds like the Sliske endgame reward of the Catalyst fragment. So if you guys agree, let me know what you think down below. Now a couple of other things real quick. The spreadsheet which I've made is very popular. A lot of you guys are asking me in DMs and in comments to borrow it. Feel free to use it, make a copy and do what you will with it. I really hope it helps you out. Also, during this video, I had to be in a different country because of a family emergency, and that meant I had 400 ping and I didn't have access to any of my setup, so it's a bit different progress than what you're used to, but I'm sure it'll be still fun to watch. I really hope you guys understand, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the video, guys. So for those of you guys that recall, last episode we got incredibly lucky with the Ascension crossbows. We finished all signets in 275 kills, and yeah, it's now time to get the dragon limbs. And what I did in order to camp these was to get a tormented demon soul and then put it in my personal slayer dungeon. Now I followed my crew's guide on this and it was pretty easy and AFK to do, and we got pretty lucky again, because the dragon limbs came around at around 110 KC, and I was very happy because this is one Ascension crossbow done. But then literally 10 minutes later we got the second dragon limbs. So boom, dual Ascension crossbow pieces all here. Now we just need to make it. So intriguingly, I'd never actually made an Ascension crossbow before, and you had to do some weird steps to it. Firstly, you needed some raw meat and need to use it on a range to create a sinew. Then you needed to use the sinew on a actual spinning wheel to make a crossbow string. After this, you fletch a couple of magic stocks and then use it on the dragon limbs, and you can make a dragon crossbow and the offhand variant. After this, you take your dragon crossbows, your Ascension signets and some Ascension shards to this weird blue looking dude outside the Ascension dungeon. Now he'll give you the option to create an Ascension crossbow, you click yes and it's made. Now I had a mini heart attack at this point because the second time I created one, I didn't have the option to create an offhand Ascension crossbow, and I was literally fearing the worst, that I had to do everything again. But it turns out if you speak to him, he can turn an Ascension crossbow into an offhand. So after I found this option, I felt a lot more relaxed, and we'd actually completed quite a big goal. We had dual Ascensions on the account, which is pretty awesome. Now this meant a few things. Firstly, using crossbows allows you to use criminal bolts, which are pretty awesome DPS, and it also allows you to use a needle strike rotation, which is more damage than using a dazing shot rotation with a two-handed longbow. Now at the moment Ascensions were fine, but of course in the long run I do want to get the BBCs from Solak, so this is just a temporary upgrade. Now one of the things I want to get going sooner rather than later is setting up my player owned farms so I have dragons and Chompers there, so I can get a shit ton of farming XP and also get the ingredients for making Invention potions. Now I camped blue dragons until I got a bunch of Ushabtis from them, put them in my player owned dungeon, and within a few hours I had managed to get myself a male and a female egg, which was awesome because this meant I could start farming dragons in my player owned farm. I then went on to build the actual large pens and put the dragons in there, filled it with some raw fish, and hopefully over time these would shit out some farming XP for me and it would be really worthwhile. Now dragons were great and I needed them for beans and farming XP, but one thing I needed even more desperately were Chompers. Now Chompers are needed to make Invention potions, and Invention potions are needed pretty much for P4E2. And as P4E2 is a significant DPS increase, it is on my best in slot list, and I have to get a fuck ton of them. So I actually spent a lot of time trying to get some red Chompers, but sadly we got two And they were both the same sex, man. Feels bad, bro. Feels bad. I spent ages trying to get these. Anyway, even though I didn't get a breeding pair, these two, when fully grown, would still give me enough Chinchomper residue to make some invention potions anyway. Also, for those wondering, I wanted at least one of my 2 pens to be filled with red Chinchompers because they are amazing for mech chins, and every time you harvest one of them, you get 10 carnivorous Chinchompers, which could then be used to make mechanized Chinchompers. So basically, as an Iron Man, I never have to hunt red chins again after I get a breeding pair. Now, it was around this time when there was a massive player-owned farm update and they released farmhands. Now, one of the farmhands was a trapper, and on release, it was so broken. People could go to the trapper, give them 100 beans, and they will come back within 30 seconds with a random animal. Now, unfortunately, this was patched around 45 minutes after release, and I was not there for the early bird bonus. And I was absolutely fucking fuming because I desperately needed those Chinchompers to get going. But sadly I missed out, and there was nothing I could do about it, and I was really angry at this time. But it is what it is. Jagex and early bird bonuses, guys. It is what it is. Now, one of my favourite updates of all time was Invention Batch 2, and that's because all the machinery released with it is pretty awesome for Iron Man. Now, I've been using the partial potion maker, especially with Snapdragons and Ranars, because you get so many of them for Firewatch. Now, there is a logic to actually make the unfinished potions yourself, so you can get the bonuses from your mask and also the Scroll of Efficiency or whatever it's called, but because you get so many of these, I don't think it's worth the time to me to actually make these, and the potion maker is pretty much a godsend in this regard. Now, as I was limited to only my laptop, I had a lot of AFK time available, and I thought it was time to get a start on masterwork. It would take such a long time to make from scratch, and yeah, I started off by making the Elder Rune ore box, which would obviously help saving some porter charges, and I just got on with just mining some random ore like Bainite until I had 600 of each. Now, this is going to be a long-term goal which you'll see progress over the episodes, so I'll keep you updated on this one. Now, back to player-owned farm stuff. I didn't realize I actually need spiders to make invention potions, so I went and camped them in the Lumbridge catacombs, and literally in 10 minutes of using an aggro pop, I managed to get both a male and a female, which was awesome. This does mean I need to shift out the Zygomites to make room for them, but this is definitely worthwhile as invention pots are so OP. It was time to open the magical chest under the sea for February, and sadly we got absolutely nothing. Feels bad, man. Now, even though I didn't have a breeding pair of Chinchompers, the ones which I had gave me enough Chinchomper residue to make some invention potions. Now, the spiders also gave me the stuff I needed, and luckily for me, I had so much Zygomite stuff from all the months I had been using them to gain farming XP. Now, this meant I could make some extreme invention potions and hopefully get myself a P4E2 with all the stuff I had lying around. So I managed to disassemble all the magic longbows I had. I got my invention potion ready, drank it, and started spamming the fuck out of all the precise components, praying for a P4E2. I had so many to use, but sadly we didn't get a single one. What a waste of time, man. I didn't realize the P4E2 grind would be so bad on Iron Man, especially if you're maxed and don't care about XP. Fletching past 99 is pretty fucking painful. Even though we managed to not get a P4E2, I did manage to get myself a Scavenging 3, which was very nice. I could use this for Slayer, and it would really help up with all the components I could gather over time. So I had a bunch of chimes lying around, so I bought myself a Hanto leggings, which is basically a Tribrid tier 70 armor piece that can be bought from Wyco. Now, the good thing about this is you can use it with all styles because it's Tribrid, Now, because Scavenging 3 is so rare, instead of making 3 Scavenging 3s for each respective combat style, I thought I'd just put it on this one and use it for all my Slayer tasks. Now, it is a bit of DPS waste as it does take the place of Crackling, but I think the extra materials I gain over time will be worth it. Now, speaking of Slayer tasks, one task which I recommend all Ironmen to do, and to prefer to be honest, is the Elves Task, and you should be doing it in the Isleworth region near Morvran, and you can get a spawn of 5 to 6 elves, and not only is it amazing combat XP, it's amazing GP, but it's also amazing fucking herblore resources. You get around 150 to 200 qualms, cadentines and irrits an hour, alongside loads of limpwort roots and whiteberries at the same time. So I really recommend preferring this task. You do need a vampirism scrimshaw for it, but it's definitely worth it. Now, as I'm sure you guys are all aware, alching is probably the main source of GP for Ironmen, and it is quite annoying to get nature runes stacked up to keep on alching shit you get from PVM. Now, I had a big stack of runite bolts, which I turned to onyx bolts, which out for around 8k each, which needed to be alked, but I did not have enough nature runes, so I did about an hour of rune crafting. I actually quite enjoy this. It really makes me feel like an Iron Man to get enough nature runes and then put this in my Invention machine, which will hopefully keep me topped up on cash for a very long time. So it was time for the yearly Hatty and Skull event. I don't find it particularly interesting, but as my friends were doing it, I thought I would do it as well. I got the paw and the fang and the thing, and it gave me some XP, and I kind of surprisingly reached a big milestone. We got 120 mage, which is pretty nice. I personally don't care about Fashionscape too much, but it does look pretty cool, and I may keepsake this in the future. It turns out I was running low on replenishment potions and I needed to stock up. Now, in order to make replenishment potions, you first need to make super energy potions, which require Mortmire fungus as the secondary ingredient. Now, stocking up on Mortmire fungus is pretty quick if you have the deadliest catch quest, as there is a portable bank chest which you can deposit the fungus, which is very close to a 3 spawn log, which you can bloom fungus on. Now, one thing which I found pretty useful as well was to use the ancient artifact thing, which you got from the Premier Club package. One of the benefits is that there's a 50% chance that you use a Sign of Porter charge without using any charges if you have the Sign of Porter with you. Now, this also works if you don't have a Sign of Porter with you, so this means that 50% of the fungi you collect will automatically be banked, meaning you can get a lot more per hour. Also, make sure to use your Mortania legs because they do allow you to get double blooms, which is pretty awesome. Now, as much as I hated myself for doing it, I had to get a male Chomper, and yeah, it was painful, but we went to Crystal Skill Chompers this time because I thought it would be nice to have these for masterwork, and we managed to get one, dude. It took so long, man. This is one horrible grind for Ironmen, but it's done. You only need to do it once. You need one male, you need one female of any breed, and you're good to go. And luckily for me, I had the best two. I had a red Chomper and a crystal Chomper. The reds meant I have unlimited mech chins, and the crystal ones mean I have loads and loads and loads for when I go for trimmed masterwork and mining all those ores. Moving on, we managed to get ourselves 112 Slayer, only 8 levels from that 120, but I had a feeling that I needed to be here for a long time to get enough Vital Sparks and Keys of the Crossing for a main hand and offhand Kopesh, so it takes as long as it takes. Now, one horrible fucking grind which I absolutely hated and didn't record for that reason was the Flash Powder Factory. Oh man, I hate that minigame so much, but the rewards are so good, and in particular I'm talking about getting a Botanist Mask and then the Modifier add-on. Now, what this mask does is it gives you a flat 5% chance to create an extra potion no matter what you're creating and send it to your bank. Now, why it's so good is that it works with Supreme Overloads, Holy Overloads, and any of the Crystal Flask stuff, meaning even though it is a painful 5 to 6 hour grind to get it, it is super worth it, in particular for Ironman, because 5% flat more potions is a godsend. Now, I'd held off doing Herb Lore until I got this item, so now I had it, I could stock up on brews, make Super Sara brews, Holy Overloads, Supreme Overloads, the lot, and this item makes it a lot easier. In the future, I may go for the outfit pieces for that 1 extra dose chance, but for now, this is good enough. I fucking hate that minigame, guys. That minigame is horrible. So I spent a shit ton of more hours doing some fletching and spinning fucking flax with that spell, and I was stocked up for another round of P4E2 attempts, but sadly, man, no dice, dude. No dice. We don't have a single P4E2 yet, and this grind, I could tell, was gonna be a painful one. But the silver lining is, because we disassembled so many weapon gizmos, we managed to get enough clockwork components to get ourselves 1 flanking 3, which is great. That is also something I was worried about, but that's 1 out of 3 for flanking 3, which is very good. Now I just need to find an appropriate weapon to put this on. Anyway, let's not end the episode on that miserable fucking note. Instead, we went to Vindicta on our laptop on 400 fucking ping. Dude, I don't know how you Aussies survive out there. You guys, mad respect to you guys. I won't ever complain about going on an Aussie world again. But anyway, we went to Vindicta with our limited AF setup, and we managed to get a lance, which is a positive, I suppose. And yeah, we didn't get a P42, but the lance, of course, is needed because I need many Aftershock 3s. So yeah, a very nice way to round off the episode. But anyway guys, that's a lot of progress in this episode, and despite my limited setup, I really did try my best to keep up with this, and I hope you appreciate that. If you did like the episode, please do drop a like and subscribe. It means a lot to me. As always, feedback is welcome, but before we sign off, it's best that we go to the spreadsheet and tick off what we have achieved, as that is the fun part. So we managed to get our main hand and offhand ascensions, which is epic. So that's 2 big goals of the main goals ticked off, and also on the side goals we managed to get 2 huge grinds done. We managed to get 2 dragons and 2 Chompers, which are of course needed for extreme invention potions, which we did unlock this episode. So yeah, the POF is set up and looking good, and we've set the foundations for a very strong upcoming few episodes. But with that being said guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. To the outro.